We are going to be kicking off the Appy Hour today. We're going to be talking with Dext. We are going to have this conversation and we're going to go and through all of these pieces. This is a deep dive and have this conversation that is going to really be part of this bigger conversation about all of the pieces that really they are able to handle. So I'm not going to take away too much of what they're going to share because it's a lot, and they have several people that are going to be with us. I love that. So Heather, do you want to go ahead and start and share who you are?
Sure. So I feel like I know everyone, but I'll introduce myself anyway. I'm Heather Satterley, and I live in Rhode Island. And I have a company called Satterley Training and Consulting, where I get to do fun things like process automation consulting work and coaching for accounting professionals and others that want to be super duper efficient. And then I also have Satterley Accounting Services, which is an accounting and tax firm. So, and then I do this with you, Liz. And then I also have a podcast with our good friend, Brian Clare, where we do the accounting automation workflow podcast. The AAWP, we like to call
it. AAWP.
And I love Elizabeth, you're so sweet. She's asking if I was affected by Henri. It's not Henry, it's Henri. And yes, we were affected by Henri, but we never lost power, which sadly meant that I was working. We were fine. So it was good. And, we were so prepared for it. So I think that's Murphy's Law. So thankfully we're okay, but a lot of our state is still without power. So yeah, but thank you for being concerned about me.
So my name is Liz Scott, and yay, I know most of you here, and those that I don't, hello. And what we do is we help small businesses, and we specialize in QuickBooks. And so really that is the area that we decided to focus. Since there is enough there in updates, we decided to just be experts in that one accounting software. And that has allowed us to be able to utilize a lot of apps that integrate and several different businesses and be able to help them with the automations and the different pieces that are out there. The thing that we did that was fun today in our firm is we actually did a strength finders test. And it was really cool to be able to look at the different people's team assessments to see where do our strengths in our team lie. And of course, one of my strengths was innovation. So that was fun. And then also execution. So it was a really fun exercise. I definitely recommend that you go and try the Strength Finders test to see how yourself or team are doing, because then you can see where are the different team members and where are your different strengths within your team.
We do the same thing in our firm. And in fact, the Strength Finder is actually part of our hiring process as well. So everybody that applies to work at Satterley Accounting has to take a Strength Finder test to make sure that they're going to be a good fit with the team, or increase the likelihood that they're going to be a good fit with the team. So love that. Love that.
It's interesting. Yeah, I can see now that we've done that, I can see why you would do that. Well, so we have team members here from Dext. And so we have Eric, Kate, and Matt. Eric, do you want to start introducing yourself, and then we'll go next to Kate and then last to Matt?
For sure. Sounds great. Thank you so much for having me and the team. We're really excited. So I'm Eric. I lead the Dext team in North America. I'm based out of Toronto and actually chat a lot with Brian. So it's great to learn, Heather, that you and Brian are close, and I'm going to have to check out that podcast. It's on my to-do list. I'm learning so much in the first 10 minutes of this. So I have a lot of homework. I got to check out Rocketpad. I got to find like a note-taking tool, and I got to go listen to a new podcast. So
but it's like, it's only the first 5 minutes.
Exactly.
And we'll transition to do the training after that. How about that?
Exactly.
Hi, everyone. My name's Kate Egan, and I'm the head of customer success here in the US office. And I've been with Dext for a little over 5 years now, back when we were Receipt Bank. So I've probably worked with some of you, seen you at conferences, and really excited to be here today. So thanks for having us.
Hi, all. Matt Simmons here. I am a co-founder of Greenback, which was recently acquired by Dext and recently rebranded as Dext Commerce. You'll get a bit more information on Dext Commerce as a product at some point later in the session today. I'm also based out of the States here in Michigan, despite the fact that a lot of our Dext colleagues are overseas in the UK, as well as Eric and Kate in Toronto. Looking forward to hearing more.
So Heather and I are both excited, Matt, that you're here because we both were a fan of Greenback. And so it's really exciting to have that merger that happened there because Greenback was a really powerful tool. And so to have this merger is really, it's quite fantastic for the business. So congratulations.
I just love to see all the smarties joining these alliances and making these beautiful products and sharing with each other and doing all this good stuff. It's lovely.
Yeah, well, we were a very small company and, obviously still in our early stages, and it made a lot of sense. What Dext has today from a product standpoint, as well as the quality of their people, made a lot of sense for us to kind of join forces. So we're excited.
Yeah, we're happy for you.
Thank you.
So Heather and I want to say thank you to our Champagne level sponsor. So for the year of 2021, ADP has sponsored us and made sure that we are broadcast live and able to share with you all about apps, all about solutions that are available for our community. And then we also want to say thank you for this episode being sponsored by Dext. And we are really excited about what they are going to be sharing today. There are 3 product platforms. And so we're going to be going through these different product platforms. And I'm going to say here that there's going to be the Dext Prepare, Dext Commerce, and then the Dext Precision. And so these 3 pieces are going to be what today is going to be about. There's going to be a lot that is going to be shared with you. This, of course, is recorded. Yay for that, because you'll probably need to come back later and watch the recording about some of the demos that are going to be shared. You're going to want to watch later. So at this point, I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen because we are going to share screen with another one of our buddies here. I don't know who's going to be next here.
I can start.
Okay. So Eric, you take it away.
Perfect. You guys and everyone can see my screen?
It's going into slideshow presentation right now.
Perfect. Great. So thankfully, I think a lot of folks already know us, but the story that Liz shared and having Matt here is great because this is exactly why we became Dext. So a lot of people will know that we were Receipt Bank, and in February we undertook a rebrand to become Dext. And the whole idea was that we really wanted to broaden out beyond receipts and invoice and document capture to do a lot more to support accountants. And that's because ultimately Dext believes that accountants and bookkeepers are the most important people for business growth, especially for small and medium-sized businesses. And there's been so many stories over the past year where small business owners have turned to their accountants for advice and guidance to keep those businesses afloat, figure out stimulus packages and plans and how to leverage different programs that have come down and constantly change. So, we've definitely seen that come to bear over the past year. And so our mission is really to help you save time to make your practice productive, profitable, and powerful. And we do that by automating data entry, streamlining workflow, and improving data quality. Just some quick numbers. We support over 500,000 businesses on the platform today. We've been in business for over 10 years now. We're very proud of the fact that we continue to add additional bookkeepers and accountants to our community, which is now over 50,000 strong. And they range from the largest accounting firms to those that are just starting out, or to a sole practitioner that's working out of their own office, setting up their own shop independently. So, we really love the fact that we get to work with the cross-section of the accounting industry, whether you're big or small. We love working with you. And ultimately, we save currently over 75,000 hours per week. That's really just from the Prepare piece and data extraction alone. And obviously with things like Greenback or Dext Commerce, and also Dext Precision, which I'll talk about, that number is just going to continue to skyrocket. So with that, I want to just outline kind of like, what really gets us up in the morning. And the fundamental thing is that client expectations are changing, right? And why is that? It really starts with the fact that traditional old world bookkeeping, in terms of getting items from your clients, getting the data from the items, adding, manually entering it into the system, matching it with the bank feeds, that whole process has been replaced. The time that process takes, the amount of work that's required in that process is completely not up to snuff anymore. As you look at kind of the consumerization of business and technology altogether, insight and pace becomes so important. With the advent of Uber, and Lyft and other services, Amazon, ultimately what everyone is expecting, regardless of industry, is speed. And what enables that? It's really digitization, automation, and management. And so, with technology put in place, modern bookkeeping becomes a lot less manual and a lot faster. And so for us, we really believe that, we have a key role to play, enabling both accounting firms and bookkeeping firms, as well as small businesses, to reap the benefits of these process and customer experience improvements. So, obviously, like Liz was saying, there's a lot of different steps in the accounting process. And we love this slide because it kind of outlines what we sort of see as a quick snapshot of, different steps in a firm's process and kind of where we as Dext have chosen to play, right? So, historically, we've always asked, like, what's your general ledger? We start with from there, and then look at, how do you get information into that general ledger? From that information, you also have to do payroll, you have to pay bills. You also want to make sure the information coming out of that general ledger is of quality. It's from a data assurance standpoint, and ultimately that leads to the reporting that you produce. If you kind of look at different apps that exist out there, there's really lots of great apps in different parts of that ecosystem, right? And we've really chosen to anchor ourselves on two parts of that process. The first one is on the bottom left, which is around the bills and invoices, helping you extract information. That's where Dext Prepare has historically been very strong and continues to be very strong. And then Matt will talk about how Dext Commerce is transforming that for e-commerce and businesses with multiple points of sale. We've also invested in a company called Xavier, which we've rebranded into Dext Precision, and that's all about data assurance and data quality. And so what we're really trying to do is help you get information into your systems, digitized as quickly as possible, and then also making sure the quality of that data is really strong coming out of it. And we partner with, Practice Ignition, Gusto, obviously the general ledgers, also Bill.com, to enable you to use a lot of that information to do the other parts of your business, like payroll, pay bills, et cetera. So, from us, I just wanted to give you kind of a landscape of where we want to play. And that leads us to kind of these three product lines, which is Prepare, all about efficiently capturing, preparing, and sharing financial data with your clients. Commerce with Greenback, which is all about fetching sales and expense transactions. And then Precision, like I said, data quality. So with that kind of intro, I'll pass it over to Kate, who will kind of spend the next chunk of time just walking you through Prepare and sharing some tips and tricks and really getting into Prepare. And then Matt will spend a bunch of time on Commerce, and I'll just wrap up with a little sneak peek on Precision, since it's still kind of to come for North America.
Perfect. Thanks, Eric. All right, I'm going to quickly share some slides as well, and then we'll actually get into a demo. So before we jump into Prepare, essentially there are 6 core areas that I think you can think about Prepare helping you with when it comes to working with clients and capturing the receipts, the invoices, and all of that data at the front end. So I think Prepare is appropriately named because, again, it's helping you prepare those finances for your clients. And so what we want to do is help you efficiently gather that information. And so there's a number of different ways between the actual source documents themselves, but then also with the bank connections, whether it be through the bank feeds or actually us being able to extract the bank statements for you. And then taking that time to remove some of the manual elements of bookkeeping, right? So if there are certain, suppliers, vendors that you guys are always going to be categorizing the same way every single time, let us do that for you. Don't spend your time on those areas. And that's where you can start to really take into control that automation, which is, I think, my favorite way of describing where Prepare can help. You can get granular with Dext as well. So thinking about line items, making sure that you are really appropriately categorizing and coding all the different elements within that one transaction to the right chart of accounts, to the projects and classes in QuickBooks Online, and then also soon to products and services, which is very exciting. There's also tax elements. I will say that I'm not as familiar with the Canadian tax side as I used to be, but there's a lot that we can help with if we've got Canadians on the line here. And there's also the element of being able to actually reach out to your clients and ask them for the paperwork when it's missing. And that's a really, really important element to the process, because we all know that at the end of the month, when you are having to communicate with your clients and you're trying to reconcile the books and the information isn't there, having a really easy way to communicate with them and identify where that missing information is coming from is where Dext can really help. So, and then again on matching bank costs, which we'll talk about a little bit more when I actually go live. So we integrate both now with online or cloud accounting softwares, as well as some desktop softwares too. So if you've known about Receipt Bank or Dext for a while, the desktop world is a little bit newer for us, which we're really excited that we've expanded into, because there are so many different clients that you guys work with. And so being able to accommodate those different client types. So with Dext, you can integrate with QuickBooks Online, Sage Business Cloud, Xero as kind of the core softwares. And then same for on the desktop side with QuickBooks Desktop, and then Sage 50 is coming soon. And Eric, you might have to correct me on the status of that for Canada, but it is either in beta or in soft launch mode, which is really exciting.
It's in beta now. We're going to try to get it out in September, hopefully.
Excellent. So really, again, being able to expand into the different types of clients that you guys are working with, so you're not limited, and really being able to prepare, again, with the name, all the finances for all types of clients, not just the ones that are online or that are just monthly. Some other integrations that we have brought into the mix will come through PayPal, for example. So we can collect new payments and automatic payments at 24-hour intervals. We have our integrations with the different vendors that we can automatically collect those statements and receipts from, invoices from a document collection standpoint. We have our file storage. So I know this is something that's come up a lot at conferences when I've spoken with people like yourselves and those that are on the line, in that there's always the element of needing a third way to back up your documents and information. And so we've introduced the ability to also be able to have your backup documents go to Dropbox and Google Drive. And we're working on some other integrations as well. And then some other cool softwares. I know there's probably a lot of Zapier folks on the line that love it. We are continuing to build out our Zaps. We would love your input on certain workflows too, because we love Zapier. It makes us happier. We've got Approval Max, which for those in the US, it's maybe not as well known, but it's a really cool app to help you with that more robust approvals process for your customers through QBO or through Xero. And then we've mentioned as well Bill.com, Gusto, and a few others here too. So lots of different interactions and how we're working, and really excited. So with that, let's actually dive in to the Prepare app, and I can give you guys a walkthrough of really what to expect. Give me a moment. All right, hopefully you guys can see my demo screen now. Great. Okay, so this is Dext Prepare. When you guys log in, this is where you're going to be able to see your clients listed out in one place. What you can see is who they're integrated with, how many items are sitting in their inbox, and allows you to get a good sense of where the work needs to be done. So I'm going to jump into our QBO demo account. And this is what you would see for a client's inbox. So probably the first question, if you guys have not seen Dext Prepare before, is how do we get the information into Dext in the first place? So we've got 4 core submission methods that you or your clients can use. And I think what's really great about the Prepare app is that depending on how confident and comfortable you are with having the clients interacting with the tool, or if this is something that you want to use internally first on their behalf, you can do so. So we've got our CAS workspace. You can do drag and drop. So if you're someone that clients, maybe they're already, sending you items via email, or maybe you've got a shared file system that you can just drag and drop from, you can pull those in. Really great for backup work, cleanup work. If you've got a new client that's coming in, and you can upload up to 50 pages at a time, 50 documents at a time. So it really helps speed up that process. The other, I'll jump down to connect to this. We'll talk about invoice fetch in a moment. And the other element is email in. So this is where if you've got clients that are constantly emailing you and you want to clean up your inbox, the email in works like magic, because every unique user of Prepare will have their own email in address to forward those items into. And so we'll be able to pick up on attachments. And we are now able to also pick up on notes with the body of the email if you use a hashtag. So that way we can start to actually bring that information in, and you can clean up your inboxes yourself. And because no one likes a cluttered inbox there.
So, Kate, I've got a question.
Yeah.
So you're saying, I think I heard you say 50 documents can be scanned and uploaded. Does that mean 50 individual documents, or does that mean a batch that has 50 documents and then that batch can be broken up? What does that mean?
Great question, Liz. So you can do 50 individual documents here in the 1 document per file. So you can upload a bunch there. And then 1 document per page. You can also essentially have 1 long PDF that has different pages split out within it. And then we'll be able to split that out for you. If you had documents in there, I will caveat this. If you had documents in there that were 2 pages instead of 1, but then the rest were 1 pages, you can then merge those back together once you're in the inbox. That way you can just help yourself cut down on that time spent, rather than having to do the individual uploads. Good question.
Nice, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Perfect. So then the other element that you can use is our mobile app. And I like to think of this as that handheld scanner, right? For those clients that are on the go, on the move, it's being able to take that picture really quickly. When I was traveling for conferences, hopefully again soon, I would say at the end of the day, when I was really tired and I maybe had to run around all day, I would just sit down. It took me 3 minutes to snap through all of my different expenses, and I was done. So it's really, really easy and simple. This is also something that you can actually give to team members on your team, and they can snap pictures of client receipts on their behalf. So I know, for instance, during tax season, I've had partners give it the mobile app to their clients, to their team members, set them up, and then just act as that handheld scanner to get through items a lot quicker rather than having to go through the scanning scanners themselves. And then we have our supplier fetch. So what this is you can actually connect with different online vendors for us to automatically collect the receipts, statements, invoices that you might have already in that system. What we're going to do, especially when you guys integrate with your accounting softwares, is that we're going to take a look at the suppliers that you already brought in to your Dext account, and we can make recommendations based off of the suppliers that we already have connections with. So it's a really great place to get started with clients. I think this is probably the number 1 submission method that people like to get started with in getting Dext Prepare going, because it's that immediate return on starting to get those documents into the system. See, there's lots of chat. So if I'm missing anything from questions, I would love to know, just so I don't.
So is my audio weird, or is it okay?
It's a little crackly.
Well,
Yeah. A little bit.
So Heather, do you want to ask the questions about PayPal and Venmo?
Sure. Yep. So we have a question about, does it integrate with PayPal and Venmo? And it looks like it does from the screen. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So what you're going to be able to do is, I don't know the Venmo integration intimately, so I don't want to give you guys false information. Like, we can certainly follow up with those that are more curious about Venmo as far as what it's actually pulling. So for example, with PayPal, we're going to have two different ways that we can connect with PayPal. You can either have PayPal from here, from the vendor fetch area, which what we're going to do is fetch the actual PayPal receipts for whatever your subscription is for PayPal specifically, versus our PayPal integration, which you can find, I'll show you other areas. That's going to pull the actual documents themselves from PayPal of those different payments, for example. Venmo, I would have to confirm. I'm assuming it probably works the same way, but I can definitely follow up with everyone or do some research while Matt is going through commerce, and then can give you guys an update at the end. Great questions.
One other question is, how long does the invoice fetch update?
So it goes, I believe, every 7 days. And then you can also force a fetch connection as well if you're expecting something sooner. So think of it on a weekly basis. When you also connect with a vendor, you're going to be given options of how far back you want to go. So it can be 30 days, or it can be entire available history. Remember that it's entire available history of whatever that vendor is supplying. So Amazon, for example, can go back pretty far. And it depends on just how many Amazon transactions you actually want to have, but also could be depending on with certain vendors, if there are some that don't go back as far as you thought, it's just because of what is available from that vendor as far as a history. Michael, I can see, says he forces those connections daily, which is awesome. And so it definitely is something that you can do, but we'll do it automatically for you every week.
Forgive me for asking if you already said this, but about how many suppliers do you support at this time?
Oh, that's a great question. We have, I think, about 1,200 suppliers at this point, and we're adding weekly. So if there's ever someone that you guys are looking for, then you can always make a request. You can then look here too at available suppliers, and you can do a control find if you're looking for more information. If you're not a Dext partner at this point in time, you can always look on our help center as well to see what vendors that we work with. But it's 1,200 and growing. So that would be kind of the 4 key ways that you can get information into Dext, right? We want to essentially give you and your clients the tools to not have an excuse to not get something for you. So that's where we want to make sure that we're accommodating the different ways that your clients might be working with you, or that you're working with your clients, to make sure that everyone has ways and means of getting those documents in a real-time manner. I see if there's a question about duplicates. So will there be duplicates if someone forces the download every day, then you do it once a week? That shouldn't duplicate it, because it's just going back to the last time it brought it in for you. So that should not be a problem as far as duplicates from invoice fetch. So, oh, go ahead. Is there a question? Nope. Just me. Perfect. So once those items are in the inbox, then this is where you can actually then start to organize yourselves in terms of how do we want to tackle this inbox and do the work that we need to. So you can either work from a high level. You can always take a peek into the transaction if you click on this image, right? If you want to find out more. My screen got really big, so give me a second. And you can sort by the user that's submitted. So maybe you want to work on certain documents from certain client users. Maybe you want to sort by categories in terms of bulk publishing, or maybe there's bulk editing by certain supplier types. So you've got a lot of different ways that you can navigate this inbox and really make it your own and customize for your workflows. What's really nice is that you can also then do some bulk editing. So let's say there's certain suppliers, maybe you notice a number of different food suppliers, right, that haven't been coded yet to meals and entertainment for let's use that as the example. You can then bulk select all of those different vendors and then code with all of the different information that we also will include on those individual transaction levels. So what this does is it allows you to cut down on the amount of clicks and review within every single transaction. If you're not in a place to set up finite rules every single time, you can start to then at least start to bulk edit some of this information to reduce the amount of review time that you have later on. I know this, we've expanded on this a lot more over the years as far as what you can bulk edit, and it really helps reduce the amount of time that you're spending. So I'll jump into the CVS receipt. So on the left-hand side, you'll always have the transaction. On the right-hand side, you'll always have the information that we've extracted. And then this is also where you can start to set rules as you go. So when you're thinking about automation with Prepare, I think this is really, really critical, is that take advantage of our ability to set up rules. So in the future, you don't have to take that time to sit there and make those clicks. So you can set supplier rules right here and say, you know what, we want to make sure that this CVS is always going to be listed as office supplies. Or we know that CVS is always going to be for a specific customer or specific class or location, depending on obviously who that vendor is. Maybe CVS is always going to be paid by a specific payment method every single time. And payment methods are, in my opinion, very, very helpful and critical with Dext Prepare to make sure that you're using it as effectively as possible. And you can start to set more and more of these rules as you go. You know, Michael McClellan, I think, was mentioning that he has about 14%, 15% automation for auto publish. And that's because he set up rules in here that he's confident for 15% of his suppliers that he wants to say, Dext has it, move on. I don't need to review it. It can go into the accounting software because we're very confident in terms of what we can do. And that's that time that you're going to be able to start to save across every single client, and then saving that time to actually spend it on either reviewing the items that need your expertise or hopefully working on even better things. So there's lots of different ways to automate. You can also create smart split rules, which is one of my favorite things that you can do in here. Let's say you have an agreement, or your client has an agreement on fuel costs for a certain vendor, or for shipping, right? Or fuel. You can always create a smart split rule to say that that's automatically always going to be split out from that specific vendor to make sure that you don't have to go in and do that split every single time. So it allows you, again, to start to get into that granular level of detail without having to, you know, have as many clicks as you need to, right? We're in the clicking stage. So once you've reviewed all this, yeah.
There's a question about markups. Like, how do we handle markups?
So markups, we can mark items as billable in Dext if you choose the customer. However, what that will do is push it over into QBO, for example, as a billable transaction. Then when it comes to markups and where QBO comes into play, I'm not as familiar, unfortunately. Either, I don't know, Matt, if you might have an answer to that, or if there's other people. But if there's more questions about it, then we can certainly take it to our product team as far as feedback on handling billable expenses and then what the process is in QBO. Any other questions that I missed? Great. Okay. So once you've identified and looked at those transactions, then you're going to be able to come down here and also tell us, hopefully we've been able to pick up on that payment method. But what's really nice about Dext is that what we're going to be able to do is pick up the last 4 digits on a receipt to say what credit card that's associated to. And this is where you can then tell us where this needs to go into QBO, for example. So if you know that credit card 8989 is attached to a Wells Fargo credit card in QBO, then when you publish this transaction over, it's going to go straight to that credit card rather than you having to guess where it's going to go instead. What I like about the payment methods is then you can start to create different types of payment methods as well. So you can make a cash one, you can make one for specifically for checks. It just gives you that granular level of detail that you need about how those transactions were actually paid. And then when all is said and done, then you're ready to go. When you click publish, that's what's going to push it over into QuickBooks Online. This is going to include the image of the transaction attached in QBO. And then it's going to move this item over into the archive. So the archive is, I think, an unsung hero of Dext. Think about it as, honestly, a great way to kind of almost Google your own information or your client's information. So what you can do is have tons of different sorting mechanisms to help you fine tune and figure out where you need to look for those transactions. So you can sort by supplier, you can sort by an amount range, a date range. Maybe you want to look at everything in a certain class or location. This allows you to narrow down that search and really use it to your benefit to then find those transactions. Auditors love this because it helps you then really find those transactions quickly rather than having to sift through lots and lots of detail. So that's the quick kind of overview of the workflow when it comes to using Dext. There's a lot of other features that we have. I think one of my favorites is actually our bank space. So with bank, you can either connect the bank feeds in Dext Prepare from your clients themselves, or you can have us extract the bank statements for you if your clients aren't comfortable giving you those login credentials to your banks. Or maybe you're doing end of year work, cleanup work, and bank statement extraction is really helpful.
So I feel like, sorry, Kate.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
My audio is still weird. Is it better?
It is, yeah.
You were fine at the beginning, and now it sounds like you're like underwater.
I'm gonna switch real quick.
Okay.
So is my audio better now?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm just using my regular laptop camera. So I want to make sure that we have enough time to cover everything. And my question is I think the bank is going to be something that is definitely going to catch a lot of attention. So I definitely want to make sure that you cover it. But knowing that we have about 15 more minutes, I just wanted to interject that to say we wanted to also see the commerce side too.
Yes, definitely. So I will fly through bank, and then I will say if there's anyone that has questions about bank and follow up, happy to chat more. I know a lot of the questions that people ask is, well, if my clients have bank feeds set up in QBO, why do I need bank feeds set up in Dext? And it's so you can take advantage of other features that we have available for you to then communicate with your clients or have the confidence to say that this transaction has hit the bank feed and we're ready to push it over into QBO because we know where it's hit. So I would say the primary use that you can use for that communication is what you see here in transactions. This is going to be a combination of either the connected bank feeds, or if your client gave you a PDF of a bank statement to be extracted, then it will all come here. If there are items that do not have a match from something that's sitting in the inbox, then what you can do is actually select request paperwork, and then it will send your client a breakdown of all the transactions that you're still waiting for actual paperwork from. And so you can either download this to a CSV or to a PDF, or you can send it to them in their mobile app where they can start sending those pictures to you immediately. So I think that is a very big high level overview. There's a lot of benefits to giving having your clients connect to the bank in Dext Prepare, or setting those bank statements in for extraction, and happy to talk with people in a lot more detail if necessary on it at the end.
Thank you. Thank you. This was great. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Matt, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. Well, why don't I just, I'll just go right into a demo and try and keep this short and sweet. And if there's any questions as I go, by all means, let us know. Give me a minute while I share my screen. So for those of you who are not familiar with Greenback, we set out initially to build software that was focused on fetching transaction data from different sources. So we would build integrations to different, let's call them digital commerce companies, right? Amazon's, Shopify, Stripes, all of these different vendors that play a role typically in the sale or expense side of a business. And the integrations would focus on acquiring, as itemized, as detailed data as we could get access to. And we would do that in a very digital fashion, since that we were focused primarily on acquiring raw data. And so as we started to grow, we had a lot more interest from our customers to continue to acquire data from many of these vendors that are responsible for sales and sales related transactions that are powering many businesses today. We consider that really to be digital commerce, right? This is a combination of e-commerce platforms such as Amazon, Shopify, which is an example of a shopping cart program. Stripe is an example of a modern payment platform. And then, of course, point of sale systems such as Square, right? And so we go and do direct integrations with each of these vendors, and we acquire very detailed, pretty much as granular data as we can get access to from each of these integrations. So we're going to acquire information such as your itemized sales data. We'll get any selling related costs that exist within each of these vendors, such as payment processing fees, listing fees. We'll get refunds and we'll get reimbursements, right? And the idea here is that what you can think of Dext Commerce. Greenback is now known as Dext Commerce. You can think of Dext Commerce as kind of a new modern bank feed, right? It's a bank feed for each of these vendors that plays a role in the sales for your different customers, right? And so we are seeing a growing need from accounting firms to be able to get access to this itemized data. And typically, without having access to tools like this, it's a very cumbersome process, right? It's difficult to take on clients and bill them profitably when you have to go and deal with spreadsheets and different data formats from one vendor to the next. And so that ultimately is the goal that we're trying to solve for here, which is make it easy for you to come onto a single source, connect the different platforms that your customers are selling on. And we'll, of course, acquire as much data as we can, both historically and going forward, so that you can easily determine how you want to push that data into an accounting platform, right? It really is a staging platform for all of your e-commerce and digital commerce sales. So what you'll typically do on Dext Commerce is, as an accounting firm, the first thing you'll do is you'll be able to create teams on behalf of your customers. Right? We make it very easy for you to create multiple teams, either through the menu up here in the upper right, or you can go into settings and create teams. The idea is teams, think of them as workspaces for each of your clients, right? So you'll create a team on behalf of the client, and then you'll start to connect the different accounts that power that business. Typically, you'll start off by connecting the accounting programs that you want to push data to. So today we have support for both QuickBooks Online as well as Xero, and we have a number of other general ledger programs that we're going to be supporting in the next coming months. Once you connect an accounting file, you can also at that point define some of the export preferences that will play a role in how you want data to flow from Dext Commerce into that accounting file. Right, so you have a lot of control over how data flows from our system into QuickBooks, for example. So in this case, you have a number of options here. You can determine what level of detail you want data to flow into. So this is the mode. So I want to push itemized transaction data into QuickBooks. So if you've got you got 5 different line items on a sale on Shopify, do you or your customers care about having that level of detail, meaning each of those products, each of those SKUs, in essence, properly categorized in QuickBooks? If you do, then you want itemized exports. If you don't care, you think it's fine just to bundle all of those sales to a single product or service and ultimately a single income account, then you can just go to summary exports. And then you have a number of other options that take you further down that really determine to what level of granularity you want to track the data that exists on our platform once it gets pushed into QuickBooks Online. Right, things such as whether you want to map to product SKUs and basically map product SKUs that come from the upstream vendor to those product SKUs that may exist in QuickBooks or Xero. Do you want to track shipping revenue, for example? Do you want to track that separately? Do you potentially want to track your sales discounts separately? Do you want to track your customer names? Do you want to bring in your data and have that be in the name of Shopify as opposed to John Smith as a customer name? right, so a lot of control with regard to the initial preferences that you can set on the connected accounting file. Once you connect the accounting file, you can then go about connecting the different places that you're selling, right? So your customers are selling on different platforms, whether they're payment platforms, whether they're e-commerce seller marketplaces, whether they're shopping cart programs, whether they're point of sale systems, whatever it may be, you can connect those files. So today we have support for 16 different e-commerce integrations. I'll show you an example of those here. When you connect these, what we're going to do is we're going to basically acquire that data. And our hope is that we're going to help recreate, let's consider it almost like we're recreating the ledger that exists within each of these integrations within the accounting file. Right. So once you start connecting these different accounting files, these different sales integrations, you'll see them listed both on your dashboard as well as in the price icon over here called the sales tab. You'll see them listed here. Right. And so from here, you can drill into each of these integrations and actually look at live transaction data. So I'm going to go into this Sandbox Stripe account, and you'll see we just recently connected this, and we've got 5 different transactions in here. So you got a good example here of how Stripe data is bringing in product names for this. This is an example of a sale. We've got a payment processing fee. And then of course you would see refunds and reimbursements as well. Once you connect the places that you're selling, at that point, you can start working with the data, right? So you have a chance now to, you can search through your transactions. You can limit them by dates. You can drill in to look at the details of these transactions. So you'll see information such as the account that these sales cleared through, right? So on Shopify, if any of you are familiar with dealing with Shopify from an e-commerce standpoint, you'll notice that some sales come through from Shopify Payments, which is Shopify's own embedded payment processing service. Others may come through PayPal and any other payment processor that you may connect to a Shopify store. Right, so we're going to have access to that kind of data, right? You'll see that listed at the top of these transactions where the funds for this specific sale cleared through. You'll also have information specific to each integration. These, we consider them custom attributes. And many of these integrations, you can actually set your own custom attributes that you can then use to create mapping rules inside of our software, right? So if you want to create custom attributes and then map certain sales to different categories in your accounting file, then you can do that very easily by leveraging those attributes here in Dext Commerce. And then of course, we're going to give you line item detail, right? You're going to see each of the line items that exist on a sale. You'll see them here in our software. Whether you want to export those at that level of granularity is completely up to you. You'll see things such as the product names, the quantity. You'll see the product SKUs if they exist in the upstream provider. And then we'll also track the subtotals, the taxes, it's a big part of it. We'll track any shipping revenue that may be on the transaction. And then of course, discounts. So if you have discounts, one or many discounts, you'll be able to categorize those as well. And so the way that you push data out of Dext Commerce into an accounting file, we basically support one of 3 core ways today. You can export these transactions, whether they're sales, expenses, refunds, reimbursements, you can export them individually. And so this is an example of me exporting a single sale here. I'm going to choose the accounting file. And you'll notice I'm going to be able to go through and manually define how I want to get this data to an accounting file. So you'll notice here, Brett Ross, because I'm using the actual level 2 customer export preference, I'm going to bring in my customer names in the accounting file. I could have chose instead to bring this in the name of Stripe as opposed to Brett Ross. I'm going to choose a Stripe clearing account. And then you'll notice I had enabled SKU mapping. And so you'll notice the product or service is already selected here because of the existing SKU map that was in place. And then if there were multiple products or services here, I could of course categorize those as well. So as you export transactions out of Dext Commerce, what will happen is we'll start to map your data. So as you export, more and more of the, what's called them categorizations will exist behind the scenes. If you need to do more advanced mappings, we can also create more complex rules where we can use different attributes of the sale to determine how you want to map that data. Right. So for example, yeah.
Matt, I just had a quick question. I just want to make sure I heard correctly. Did you say as you map each transaction, so you're mapping each transaction that comes through and it learns from you, it automatically creates a rule? Is that right?
Yeah, that's one way in which we build mappings for data. Yeah.
So that's what I heard. And then you said there's two other ways. So what are the two other ways? Because we're right at the bottom of the hour, and I want to make sure that before everybody hops to a meeting that we have a chance to launch that poll. So what are the two other ways?
So the other two ways is one I just mentioned was advanced mapping. So we can build more complex rules to push data from our system to the accounting file. And then the other is the SKU mapping, which is an export preference. So if you enable that, we'll automatically map the SKUs between both systems.
And then and then a clearing account is used for the payments. Is that?
Yep. Typically what you want to do is you want to have everything that clears through each of these providers go to its own clearing account, right? So we're recreating a ledger that exists for Stripe or for Shopify or WooCommerce, et cetera, et cetera. So you'll have, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, so question of the day for me is, does it handle the fees too? Or is it just, it does?
Yep. Yeah, everything that exists within those providers will exist here on this platform. So sales, processing fees, et cetera, et cetera. Yep.
It's big.
Yep. And I'll wrap up and I'll just say we have a number of new features coming, as well as a lot of new integrations on the roadmap. New features are auto exports, where you can set schedules and will automatically just push data through to the accounting file. So once all of your mappings are in play, you kind of set it and forget it. Basically turning what is typically a very complex task into something you can do very quickly. And the hope here is that we can help, you and your folks be able to do this very profitably for e-commerce customers. And then we also have roll-up exports for those that have very large transaction volumes, thousands, tens of thousands a month, where QuickBooks and Xero, may start to break down. We can roll those transactions up into smaller number of entries in the accounting file.
And so would that look like a summary?
We're going to still try to give you as much granular data as we can. So we'll roll up all the sales in a period for a specific product to one entry. All the fees for a specific type of fee would go to one entry. So all of your product and expense-based reporting inside the accounting file would still work. It's a big part of it.
And so it would be per line item then?
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Yep. And that would be per day? Is that what I'm hearing here?
Any schedule you want to build, it'll be per day, per week, per month. Yep.
Okay, so that's that flexibility.
And do you pick the time of day, or does it do it at like midnight time of day?
Yeah, you'll have a chance to pick the time of day that you want the process to run. Yeah.
Nice. Heather, do you mind launching that poll? Because I want to make
sure. I sure do not mind launching that poll. There we go.
Thank you. So I think a lot of the key things that we're hearing here is flexibility with the e-commerce options. Matt, your screen is still showing here.
Can you stop?
Do you mind?
Oh, that was too quick.
The thing I was hoping that you would show was the integrations that you currently connect to, because whenever we're talking about being able to have one solution for a lot of things that we're connecting to, I think that if you're working with e-commerce businesses, they have more than one platform that they're on. So that's something that's really important to be aware of, is how many different platforms that Dext Commerce is able to connect to. And then being able to see the Stripe, being able to see the payment processing part of it,
right,
and the fees piece of it. That is the winner chicken dinner part of it.
It sure is. That's the holy grail of
right,
e-commerce. Well, very exciting. Very exciting. I'm going to go ahead and count people down. If you would like Dex to reach out to you, please do answer the poll, and I will send along your information after the conclusion of the webinar. So last chance. Awesome. I'm super excited about both of the solutions that we saw today. I can't wait to see the third one. So you're going to have to come back. So.
There was a lot here. Okay, I'm gonna force share. So I'm gonna stop sharing your screen. I'm gonna share my screen. Thank you for sharing and indulging me present, because I wanted everybody to see all of the different connection options. So do you want to announce this really cool special
Sure. Yeah. So for any partners that act or new prospects that activate, we're going to offer extended complimentary onboarding. We know a lot of practices work in their own special way, and we want to make sure one of our experts can help you maximize the benefit of Dext or Dext Commerce to your practice. So we're offering typically it's 30 days. We're doubling that to 60 days as a September special because we know this is the season to get new technology and get new clients on that technology.
Well, thank you. That is very, very nice and appreciated.
And I'm just gonna, I just shared the website link in the chat for everyone so they can go and take a look at it.
Ooh, you made
I just
that
registered my
easy,
interest.
Heather.
Very interested. So.
Well, I am grateful that you, are here today. And so just as always, if you want to go and find out more about the Appy Hour, you can visit our website and you can learn more about the episodes that are coming up. I will tell you that in 2 weeks, we will have Quivinci back on. We're going to be talking about more reporting that we have not had Quivinci on in 2 years. And so they have made a lot of updates, and I am very excited to see and share all of the things that they have done in the last 2 years. And they are coming on September 14th. I believe that is correct, Heather.
That's right.
Yes. Okay. So September 14th, we will have Quivinci joining us. You can go over to our Facebook and always watch these live. We recommend and we invite you on Facebook land to come over here and join us in Zoom land because we have an active chat that's always happening. And so you can ask live questions and you can get answers. And then also you can make sure that you check us out on YouTube. Oh, there it is right there. Thank you so much. I didn't realize that was there. So yes.
I know. I totally did that just for you. Well, I did it for everyone. But.
Thank you. So scaling new heights. Yes, that is going to be coming up. We are going to have a special guest, Joe Woodard, that is going to be joining us September.
Although Liz had dates wrong. It's actually the 16th, not the 15th. So I get, you can just smack me right here. I totally messed it up. It's actually the 16th and not the 15th, which all of our tax preparers are like, what are you doing?
You're thinking the 15th. That's what you're doing.
Right. I'm thinking that on the 15th, we need to kick back with a cocktail after we're done filing all those extension, the returns that were on extension. So.
Well, and we're going to be doing a fun thing with Fishbowl. And so we'll tell you more about that later. Yes. And then Licio is going to be coming on. And so we always love talking to Allison Ball. So she will be here with us. And then we're going to be talking to Recur 360. So it's been a little while since we've talked to our buds over at Recur 360. You know, they do reoccurring invoices and sales receipts, so stuff like that. And then we will be live at Scaling New Heights. So lots of cool stuff happening. And we want to thank you for joining us. Lots of great information. I told you it would be a good one and lots of things to listen to. So glad that you are all here. Thank you for joining us, friends.